Happy Hanukkah, everyone. In the last 24 hours, there have been some very tragic events all over the world. In Amsterdam, in Australia, in Los Angeles, many Jews have lost their lives. And if you're sitting there going, I wonder why all this is happening, why clarity is earned. It's not something that you just get. According to the Torah, in order to receive a clear mind, you actually have to open up your mouth and pray to God. You don't have to do it with a book. You can literally just open your mouth, look up. God is everywhere. Say something like, what can I learn from this? That's one way to get clarity. Another way to get clarity is to give charity. Another way is to do acts of service. Kindness, chesed, also can start doing commandments. There are 7 commandments of Noah. Don't steal, don't kill, commit adultery, but clarity is earned. If you are spending your time watching things that can harm you, and you know there's like a whole list of things that we could go into that you know is probably harming your body, your mind, your soul, even listening to certain music, you might think it's fun or it's interesting, or when you're in your car, oh, I want to listen to this because it makes me feel a certain way, or I'm so bored, I'm just going to listen to this. If you are listening to music by someone who does not have good intentions, the Kabbalah says that it actually affects our soul. I'm starting to learn now in the healthcare industry, sound waves can actually heal the body, right? Whatever happens to us physically is probably a reflection of what's going on with us spiritually. Are you creating a life for yourself that allows you to have clarity? Or are you purposely putting blockers into your life? Is there any habit that you do throughout the day that you go, I probably shouldn't be doing this? And our phones are trying to steer us in other directions. We start to see, unfortunately, videos, people that we love and know with different words coming out of their mouth that they didn't say. And that's going to get really hard to decipher. I just heard that in millions of people's feeds, they heard the story of what happened in Australia earlier today. Someone reported that it was an IDF gunman, God forbid. Jewish people have been known for a lot of things, but killing our own people, harming our own people, it's just not done. It's not something that I've ever learned it. For the last 25 years, I've been in several different kinds of Jewish communities. Religious, not so religious, somewhere in between. I've ever heard that there is any sort of commandment saying let's murder ourselves and spread hatred and also harm ourselves or each other. Secondly, I heard Omer Shem Tov speak earlier today. Beautiful, kind soul in his mid-20s speak about what it was like to be in Gaza captivity for over 500 days. The way that he told his story with such grace, humor, compassion for his captors, for his fellow Jews, for the world, compassion for the people who worked at the UN. He's on a totally different level. The hope, we were all riveted just watching him. We wanted so badly to hear some inspiration, and we got it. He could have spent the 2 hours that he was speaking from his heart and just bashed the people who terrorized him for 500 days. He could have spent the time talking about why we all have to get rid of a certain radicalized religion because it's harming people. He didn't. He spoke instead in such an astute way, in such a mature way that I don't think if I was 24, 25 years old could have ever come close, because he spoke about how when he was in the darkness of the dark, in the tunnels, and in a room that, if you could call it a room, he was not tall enough for him to stand up in, and his arms only went this far. For 50 days, I believe, he was in this room. I don't think I could have withstood like a day. The darkness was so palpable. There was no one around. All he had was God. All he could do was talk to God. And one of his co-hostages had said early on to him in a very depressive way, understandably so, we're not going to make it. There's no way we're going to make it. Omer looked at him and he said, we have a choice. Or like Eli Sharabi says in his book, Hostage, which you should read if you haven't yet, there is always a choice. So he said the same thing, but then he added, you have to believe that we're going to get out of here, because that is the only choice. Let's say if, God forbid, we're not, well then we didn't anyway, but we have a higher chance of getting out if we really believe we're going to get out. I think that is why so many people hate Jewish people, because for the 20 to 35% of us who are actually studying the Torah, keeping Shabbat, going through the motions of trying to spread the light, actually doesn't take much at all for any human being to turn something around. And the Jewish liturgy, the entire Torah, the Talmud, the Tehillim, the Psalms, everything we study actually is about hope. It's about in every moment, not even every day, every moment, every hour, you have the chance and the choice to turn your entire life around. And that's what he kept doing. And I left that talk so inspired. And he didn't even give the 5 tips of what to do if you are held hostage. No. All he did was just tell the highlights and some lowlights of his story. 500 days in captivity. That was it. He just talked about how he found the hope. Most of this social media stuff, as I'm waving through this window to try to find somebody else who kind of gets what I'm talking about, and what is being thrown at us is about darkness. It's not about hope. It's not about light. But it's funny, isn't it, that like comedians are telling people how to view things. And maybe it's because a lot of us are clowning around and have the capacity or the courage or the experience and just looking at things in a different way. I don't know, maybe an artist is sometimes somebody that you can go to first to say, well, what do you think of this? You're creative. Tell me how you would look at things, because I'm sort of stuck in this cookie cutter thing. I think that's why people really despise Judaism and Jews, because we don't all think alike. We're not encouraged to. Yes, of course, there's exceptions and communities where you have to conform. You're supposed to have a partner, a learning partner, a chavruta that you argue with for the sake of heaven in a healthy way. Like, well, what about this situation? And what about if the person doesn't know? And you go back and forth and you argue in a healthy, respectful way about the text that you're learning. People are just so threatened by it because we're such a tiny people, 15 million versus all the other billions of people that are in the world. Even the most secular Jews are raised, if they have Jewish parents or grandparents that actually practice Judaism, to think differently and come at things from a different angle and have, hopefully, compassion and empathy for another side. And it just doesn't work in the secular world. People are just like, no, are you on my team or their team? And if you're not, screw you. I'm going to step on you and get ahead. Sometimes it doesn't comply with Western values. Yet, I believe, from the more that I have learned about Judaism over and over again, it's the antidote to all the evil in the world. One drop of hope. One drop. Remember the commercials with soap? When I was growing up in the 80s, during Saturday morning cartoons, before I started keeping Shabbat, obviously, you'd see like a sink basin of dirty, grimy dishes with like the grime on the top of water. One drop of yellow dish soap, it just takes out all the darkness. Done. It just takes it out. And that's Torah. That's living a godly life. That's living inspired. Have you ever had a really bad day, a really hard moment, and you feel like you're just in the doldrums, and then somebody comes by in your life? You cross them somewhere, whether it's a stranger. And I watch videos like this all the time. Those are my favorite, where somebody like Mr. Beast or some multimillionaire gives tons of money to like a homeless person, and they just start crying with joy because they turn their life around. I mean, that's a crazy example, but you know, in your own life, there's that one friend that calls you when you're down, or that you can unload on or just vent to, and they just give you a hug or come by with your favorite snack or sit with you on the couch, and then you just feel so like a weight has been lifted. That's what Jewish values are supposed to do for the world. And I think that people who really study them and understand them, they know that. I hope that I'm able to live a long time to see this whole darkness turn into light, but there are other forces in this world that are trying so hard and are so threatened by this tiny group of people within the tiny group of people that are actually studying it and trying to bring it to life. We have to start earning our clarity enough to fight those demons, because without those values, those Judeo-Christian values that help people to see that there's a bigger picture to things, there's a God that loves us and wants us to be happy. Judaism and Christianity today, as far as I know it and have experienced it with my allies in the Christian world, is about injecting a little bit of hope, a little bit of kindness, a little bit of, hey, come to a meal with us, or let's sit and sing together, or talk about high lofty things, spiritual things. But there's no forcing. However, there are other groups of people that if you say the wrong thing, you're kicked out or you're canceled forever. If you don't join this religion and dress this way and cover your head and do all the things, we'll just get rid of your whole family. Is anyone starting to see a pattern that there's the people that support free will and choosing to do the right thing because it's just the right thing versus forcibly getting you to do what they say is the right thing? Pay attention to the music you're putting in your ears and the people that you're surrounding yourself with and the conspiracy theories that you choose to follow. On Chanukah, what made the Jewish people, tiny little Jewish Maccabean army, overcame the Syrian Greeks and the other Jews that joined them because they wanted to conform because they looked prettier and they had more money and they were more powerful. What that little tiny group of Jewish people got from Hanukkah, when they won the battle with God's help, they immediately started to clean up the temple so that they could practice their religion again fully because they were told they couldn't. And tonight in Amsterdam and earlier today in Australia, God forbid, the Jews walked away from their Hanukkah celebrations with violence, thinking, I guess I can't practice fully. Please, don't succumb to that darkness. We need you. The world needs you. And we should all learn from the Maccabees. And even when there's only a tiny bit of oil left in your life, light it up and celebrate and be like the soap and put out just that little bit of hope into the world, because the ripple effects, the ramifications of that are what has gotten us to 5786, that's the Jewish year, but also what helps light up the whole world. We're not just in charge of helping Jews stay alive. Our job is to keep everyone alive. Everyone, even the terrorists. They should change their ways now so that the whole world can get along. That's our job, is to be such a bright light that even a terrorist would drop their guns and say, oh, I want to be more like that. I don't want to kill people because they don't dress like me or speak like me or pray in the same as me. Like, that's our job, is to inspire them to change, not by force, but just because they go, oh, that looks interesting. What are you guys doing? Kindness, inviting people for Shabbat, singing together. Like, that's what you do? Giving your fellow man charity if they're down? Nah, that can't be. I'll never forget Omer Shem Tov said today that one of his jobs as a hostage was walking around picking up the myriad of boxes of UN aid that was given to the Gazans. And his job was to organize it and put it together. And he said that as a hostage, he received such little food. That must have been so hard for him to be boxing food up all the time and repackaging it and distributing it to the terrorists that were around him, and going from point A to point B with it and only getting a tiny bit of the food, even though it was like a surplus of food. It was just one of the many things he said. Anyway, go hear him speak. He's amazing. And hopefully he'll inspire you. Happy Hanukkah.